My name is Alina, and I didn't plan to steal a life, I just wanted to survive. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and regret. I wiped down the counter with a cracked sponge, my hands aching from another 12-hour shift. Outside, snow flurried down in thick, lazy flakes. The night had been quiet, save for the usual truckers and tired locals grabbing bottomless cups of caffeine. I glanced at the clock, 12:48 a.m. Just a few more minutes. Then the sound hit. A screech of tires. A metallic crunch. Then, nothing. I dropped the sponge and bolted out the door. My boots crunched the icy pavement as I followed the faint trail of steam rising from the road just past the diner's lot. That's when I saw it, a black BMW, its front end crumpled against a tree. The driver's side door hung open. A man lay on the ground, unmoving. "Hey!" I cried, kneeling beside him. Blood dripped from his forehead, staining the snow like rust. He was unconscious, breathing shallowly, but alive. I grabbed my phone with trembling fingers and called 911. "There's been an accident outside Miller's diner. He's hurt, badly." While I waited for the ambulance, I did what I could, covered him with my coat, tried to stop the bleeding. His wallet had fallen nearby. I picked it up out of instinct, flipping it open with shaking hands. Ian Moreau. The name meant nothing to me, until I saw the credit card and ID tucked behind it. Moreau Technologies. Wait. That Moreau? I blinked in disbelief. The man I was trying to stop from bleeding out in the snow wasn't just a stranger, he was a millionaire. In the emergency room, things moved quickly. Paramedics asked questions I didn't have answers to. "Are you family?" "No," I said. Then I saw the hesitation in the nurse's eyes. They might not treat him right without someone speaking for him. Not just someone. "Family." "Yes," I corrected. "I'm his wife." The words came out like someone else said them. She scribbled that down without flinching. I signed the forms, not knowing what I was agreeing to. Maybe it was fraud. Maybe it was wrong. But something in me snapped that night. I hadn't eaten a real meal in days. I hadn't had a place to sleep in weeks. And here was this man, this millionaire, clinging to life and completely alone. I told myself it was temporary. Just until he wakes up. Just until they find the real family. But the hospital didn't call anyone. Ian had no emergency contacts listed. His phone was locked. And by the time I realized the lie was growing faster than I could contain it. He opened his eyes. Ian blinked against the fluorescent lights, his pupils sluggish as they adjusted. His face was pale, bruised, but even under the swelling, you could tell he was handsome. Clean-cut jaw, stormy eyes, and a presence that, despite his current state, felt commanding. "Can you hear me?" the nurse asked. He gave a faint nod. His voice cracked. "Where am I?" "You were in an accident, Mr. Moreau," she said gently. "You hit a tree just outside of town. You're at St. Luke's Hospital. You're stable now." Ian groaned, bringing a hand to his head. "I don't remember anything." The nurse looked at me. "Your wife's been here the whole time." I froze. Wife. There it was again, that word I had borrowed. Ian turned his head slowly and looked at me. His eyes narrowed, like he was trying to search through the fog. "You're my wife?" My heart raced. This was it. The moment to come clean. But his eyes were scared, confused, and something in me couldn't deliver another blow. So I nodded. Once. "I'm here, Ian." His brow softened, just for a moment. "What's your name again?" "Alina." He whispered it like it was a memory he was trying to recover. "Alina. You stayed." "I did," I lied. "I always will." The doctors confirmed it. Ian had retrograde amnesia, partial, but severe enough to erase the last few years of his life. Names, events, details, gone. They said familiar surroundings could help him regain memory, and since I was his wife, they recommended he be discharged into my care. His care? I didn't even have a home of my own. But as fate would have it, I didn't need one. When they returned Ian's belongings, his wallet, keys, and phone, his assistant called back. I told her he was injured and healing. She offered to send a car to bring us back to his estate in Westbridge Hills. I said yes before thinking twice. So within 48 hours, I went from sleeping in a diner storage room to being driven in a Mercedes through the gates of a mansion worth more than every dollar I'd ever touched. The estate was cold. Marble floors. Vaulted ceilings. A fireplace taller than me. Yet it felt more like a museum than a home. "This is ours?" Ian asked slowly as he stepped inside. I nodded, afraid to speak. The silence threatened to crack my disguise like glass. He looked around at the grand staircase, the ornate paintings, the untouched furniture. "I don't remember any of it." "It's okay," I said softly. "We'll make new memories." I helped him upstairs. Helped him lie down. Helped him forget that I wasn't who I said I was. That night, I sat alone in the guest room, knees pulled to my chest. The plan had been simple: pretend for a few days, then disappear. But now he looked at me with trust one hadn't earned. He smiled when I entered the room. He reached for my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. And worst of all? I was starting to like the lie. Ian healed quickly, physically at least. Within days, he was walking with just a cane, moving around the mansion slowly, taking in rooms as if seeing them for the first time. Which, for him, he was. But emotionally? He clung to me like I was his anchor. "Alina," he called softly one morning, peering around the hallway. Did I ever paint? I looked up from the breakfast tray I was pretending I knew how to serve. "Paint?" He smiled faintly. "I found an easel in the sunroom. Brushes. Half-finished canvases." "Oh." I hesitated. "You were experimenting, trying new things." I didn't know if it was true. But he seemed comforted by it. Each day, I told 100 harmless lies, tiny pieces to stitch together a fake past. How we met. Our wedding in a garden with lanterns in the trees. How we used to dance in the kitchen. He'd nod, eyes watering, saying he could almost see it. And then, one evening, he kissed me. It was innocent. Soft. His hand gently held the side of my face, his lips brushing mine like he'd done it 1,000 times before. There was no lust in it. No force. Only trust. "I don't remember loving you," he whispered, "but every day, I feel like I'm falling again." My chest ached. Because I wasn't falling. I'd already fallen. And it was the one thing I hadn't planned for. But not everyone believed the act. Monica, his assistant, was sharp-eyed and cold. When she visited the estate for the first time, she barely looked at me. She went through files, muttered into her phone, and studied Ian like he was a business transaction gone sideways. "I need to speak with you privately," she told me one afternoon. We sat in the library, the heavy doors shut behind us. "You're not his wife," she said flatly. I stayed quiet. "Ian never mentioned you. Never brought you to meetings. Never introduced you at events. There's no record of a marriage license, no photos, no prenup." Still, I didn't flinch. "He doesn't remember." "That's not my fault." Her eyes narrowed. "But you remember. And you're living here. Sleeping in his bed. Accessing his wealth." "I haven't touched $1, I snapped. She smirked. "Yet." Before leaving, she dropped a card on the table. "He'll remember eventually. And when he does? I'd suggest you vanish before he remembers you as a con." That night, I almost packed a bag. Almost. But when I passed his bedroom door, I heard him murmuring in his sleep, restless, calling my name like a frightened child. Alina. I stepped inside, sat beside him, and took his hand. Because the lie had become a bond neither of us could break without tearing the other apart. Days passed. Then weeks. What started as survival became something dangerously close to real. Ian and I fell into a rhythm. Quiet breakfasts. Walks through the snowy garden. He'd ask questions, innocent ones, and I'd spin memories like silk. How did we meet again? At a library. You asked me for the last copy of a travel book. And our honeymoon? Greece. You were afraid of heights, but we still rode the cliff tram. Every word made his eyes shine. Every lie made my guilt grow heavier. Because it wasn't just deception anymore. I wanted it to be true. Then came the day everything began to unravel. Ian had wandered into his office, one room I'd avoided. But he insisted on exploring it himself. I followed a few minutes later to find him frozen in front of a digital screen on the wall, flicking through photos. Business photos. Charity galas. Magazine covers. And in none of them was I there. Not once. Alina, he said quietly. Why aren't you in any of these? I swallowed. We kept things private. You never liked bringing your personal life to events. His eyes lingered on one image, a woman by his side. Tall. Elegant. Blonde. Not me. Who is she? He asked. I didn't answer. He turned to me slowly. You said we were married. We are, I whispered. In a way. He stepped back. In a way? Ian. Are you my wife, Alina? I couldn't lie anymore. I opened my mouth, but the sound of tires crunching outside stopped me. We turned to the window. A sleek black car pulled into the drive. A woman stepped out. The same one from the photo. She was real. And she had come back. Monica stood beside her. They both walked toward the front door, purposeful and smug. She said she's his fiancée, the butler told me moments later. She brought papers. My stomach dropped. Fiancé? I had told myself no one would come. That he was alone. That I wasn't stealing from anyone. But I was wrong. Ian looked at me then, not with affection. But with confusion. Betrayal. You lied to me. I saved you, I said desperately. You were alone. Bleeding. No one else came. No one called. I didn't plan it, I swear, I just wanted to help. Then I stayed. Because? His voice was hoarse. Because I didn't expect to care this much. His face hardened as the doors opened below. And I knew, everything I had built was about to collapse. The mansion felt colder than ever as Ian faced the woman who claimed to be his real fiancée. Her name was Clarissa. Polished. Poised. Perfect. She walked into the room like she owned it, and maybe, once, she had. Ian, she breathed, brushing his cheek with a rehearsed tenderness. You have no idea how long I've waited to bring you home. He flinched. Something in him recoiled, not from familiarity, but from discomfort. His body remembered something his mind didn't. She turned to me. And you must be the imposter. I'm the woman who stayed, I said quietly. Clarissa rolled her eyes and handed Ian a folder. Here's the engagement papers. The event contracts. Even the ring receipt. Ian looked down at them. Then at me. I don't know who to believe. You do, Clarissa insisted. You just don't remember yet. She turned to leave, but not before delivering her final strike. You can decide where you belong, Ian. But just know this woman won't be around once your money disappears. She walked out. That night, Ian didn't speak. I started packing my things, what little I had. He watched me from the doorway. You were right, I told him. I lied. for survival. But everything after that was real. He didn't stop me. Until I reached the front steps. I remember something, he said suddenly. I turned. I remember waking up, just before the crash. I wasn't alone in the car. I froze. What? There was yelling. A fight. She was there. Clarissa. We were arguing. I remember her calling me a coward for calling off the wedding. I stepped closer, breath trembling. You called it off? He nodded slowly. I wanted out. I wanted something real. He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Maybe I found it. In the most impossible way. Weeks passed. The truth spread, news, papers, headlines. Millionaire's amnesia uncovers fake wife, but real love? Clarissa fled. The engagement was declared void. The public called her manipulative. Opportunistic. The tide had turned. And me? Ian asked me to stay. Not as his wife. Not yet. But as the woman who saw him when he was invisible. We started again, truthfully this time. No lies. No papers. Just us. But some nights. I still lie awake, wondering. If he had never lost his memory. Would he have ever loved me at all?